Hello, I'm Tim Silverwood, co-founder of Ocean Impact Organisation. A few months ago, I was asked by the organisers of the Ocean Lovers Festival if I'd like to MC the Fish Tank, a new program they'd developed. I jumped at the chance. But unfortunately, the Ocean Lovers Festival for 2020 was cancelled due to COVID-19. So at Ocean Impact Organisation, we thought, we're innovative, we're digital by design, surely there's a way we can bring the fish tank to life. So that's exactly what we've done. We've got 6 fantastic solutions to help Planet Ocean to share with you today. But first, you'll be hearing from Anita, one of the co-founders of Ocean Lovers Festival. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi Ocean Lovers, I'm Anita and welcome to our virtual event. This is our second year of Ocean Lovers Festival, a celebration of ideas, hope and inspiration for our oceans. Australians are great innovators and great ideas people, so we went fishing for some great ideas to put in our fish tank. Thanks so much to Tim and the team for getting on board, and I hope these segments inspire you to get on board and share your good ideas with us too.
Okay, so I'm joined by Pete Zaglinski from Seabin Project. A couple of questions for you, Pete. So tell us about you and the challenge it is that you're trying to solve.
Uh, yeah, so my name's Pete. I'm 41 and I live up on the far north coast in Byron Shire. I've got a couple of kids and we're the challenge we're trying to solve, I guess, is pretty simple. Plastic in our oceans. Not that simple to solve. The problem itself is simple, but solving it is a lot more complicated. But yeah, so we have a small startup called Seabin Project, and we literally combined a garbage bin with a pool skimmer, put it in the water in upstream locations, and yeah, we're operational in 53 countries at the moment, pulling out 3.6 tons of marine litter every day in more than 800 locations. Filtering about 500 million litres of water every day as well for microplastics and oil and plastic fibres and all sorts of nasties. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am and what we're up to.
Great. So you just described a little bit about your solution, the Seabin project. Why will it work? Why will this make such a difference to the challenge that you're trying to solve?
Well, in theory, it's not going to work. I mean, technology is not going to solve our problem. So the CVIN itself is not going to solve the problem. What we found is that we actually have to put technology together with prevention and awareness and education. And then from there, we kind of figured that we've got a pretty good start on a full solution. So, you know, you heard the term, like, you got to turn off the tap before you clean it up. And so our kind of very simple way of looking at the issue is, you know, let's turn off the tap with prevention and awareness, and let's clean it up while we go, using the technology and cleanup capabilities. And yeah, so we kind of found, like, you know, with the Seabins, it's a really good communication platform. It's upstream, people can see it, people can interact with it, and that's kind of how we started. And then we started to focus on data monitoring, educational programs, and really just not to be hypocrites by saying that the Seabin's amazing and it's going to fix our problems, when, you know, the problem starts with all of us doing those small steps of refusing single-use plastic and just being a bit smarter with how we operate as consumers.
Great. So tell us a little bit about where you're at now in 2020 and what you need to realise your long-term vision and goals.
Oh man, where we're at now as of the 25th of March 2020 it's a pretty crazy place, but we got really lucky over the last 4 weeks. We did our first Series A equity funding round, and we used a platform with a company called Virtual, and essentially we did a crowdfunding round, and we just raised $1.82 million from 1,791 first-time community investors. And so, that's put us in a really good position to get through this really uncertain times due to the corona crisis, and then the stock markets and trade and businesses closing, and people losing jobs, and just so we're really, really fortunate at the moment to have done that with our timing. And so what we do need was obviously that capital. We foresee that a lot of our markets and sales will possibly decline for the next 3 to 6 months. But at the same time, the next steps for us are to reshore our manufacturing back to Australia. So, the next CBIN technology that we're going to be building is in Brisbane, Australia. We're going to be we've started the process of reusing fishing nets to build the new hardware, and we're also incorporating sensors to start monitoring pH level, dissolvable oxygen, water temperature, and a few other things. And so that for us, can really lift our game on the data management. And we just partnered with the University of Technology Sydney to build the data app, the user interface, and also the software to drive it all. And so. Yeah, so for us, I guess it's for the next 3 to 6 months is to concentrate on what we can do with our existing network, bring the manufacturing in-house. We're employing a few people as well, and just really starting to, I guess, reassess, how do we transition from the private sales into a subscription model? How do we work with government? How do we have entire leased fleets, and how do we provide more services to be more cash flow positive? And for us, to drive the wheel of what we do, it all starts with money. Then it goes to education, visual communication, working with partners like waste service providers or cities and governments. And then, the revenue just keeps that wheel ticking over. And we have a CBIN Foundation where we have a 1% for the Planet partnership and pledge. And so a percentage of all our revenue goes to funding the awareness, prevention, and education. And so, just, I don't know how we're going for time, but yeah. That's
pretty much done there, mate. Wrap it up. Okay, sounds like you're, you're in a good position despite the challenges that we all face at the moment. And look, we wish you the best. Thanks for sharing your story of the CBIN project today.
Thank you, and thank you everyone, and stay safe.
Okay, I'm joined by Kimberly Bolton of Peck. Kimberly, tell us about the challenge it is that you're trying to solve.
So we're trying to solve, obviously, the overarching single-use plastic waste problem. But we've decided to tackle it from a biodegradability standpoint. We found the current biodegradable materials market actually had a lot of room for improvement. A lot of biodegradable materials are actually not sourced from sustainable materials. So, for example, you can still have a biodegradable material, but it can be based from petrochemicals. But it just breaks down in natural conditions, which is not what people expect. And the breakdown period of current biodegradables can take up to 5 years still. And there's a lot of confusion around biodegradability and bioplastics and materials, but we found that there was lots of room for improvement, and particularly we were challenged to develop a material that functions while it's in use as the packaging. However, once consumers are done with it, they can throw it away in a simple mechanism, and it will biodegrade safely in a very quick time span, and trust that it is actually sustainable. So that was the challenge.
Great. Well, it sounds really exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is? What is this solution, and why will it work?
So we've been able to develop a plastic alternative material out of crustacean shell waste. So we're taking prawns, lobsters, crab shells that people obviously don't eat, and we're taking that waste, and we've been able to develop a range of different plastic alternative materials. So this is just a little sample. I can hold it up to the camera. So it looks like a plastic sheet, but we've been able to make a semi-rigid form that can be containers and trays, for example, punnets that for like strawberries and blueberries and tomatoes, or we can do plastic bags and various sleeves, and then even a cling wrap material. And once consumers are done with using their Carapack package, they can simply throw it into a pot plant or their garden, and it takes 3 to 6 weeks to fully biodegrade, which is very exciting. And once it is actually in the soil, it becomes a slow release nitrogen fertilizer, which is fantastic for plants. So we're using a waste product to make a sustainable packaging alternative, and then once consumers are done with it, it'll break down simply and be great for their plants.
Great. So we can all eat sustainable seafood and then give back to the planet with the waste that's created. So tell us a little bit about where you are now in your journey, and what is it you need to achieve your big vision, your big goals?
So over the past, we started the company about 2 years ago, and our focus has really been on developing the material to the point where it's at now. And over the next few months, we plan to set up a pilot manufacturing facility and to actually produce it at a reasonable scale, to do trials with customers and get the material out onto the market. And in order to do that, we are going to initiate a round of investment to start manufacturing going, which will be very exciting. But yeah.
Well, you're excited, I'm excited, and I think everyone who's tuned in today would be excited as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, Kimberly, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tim.
About 50% of Sydney Harbour shoreline is now covered in artificial structures like seawalls.
We're seeing loss of important ocean habitats and also pollution.
One of the world's largest living seawalls has been launched in Sydney Harbour today.
Seawalls around Sydney Harbour are being adorned with white tiles.
The living seawall tiles are designed to mimic the root structure of native mangrove trees in Sydney. Small geometries are etched into the design to give oysters, fish, algae and other organisms a place to live.
Okay, so we are joined by Jeremy Brown from Ocean Protect. So Jeremy, tell us about the challenge that is you're trying to solve.
G'day, Tim. Thanks for having me on this little show of yours. It's a great initiative considering the time that we're in. Ocean and marine and waterway health is something that probably is on not on people's minds at the moment, but at the end of the day, the stormwater network is sort of extended veins of the ocean. So if you think many years ago when we built our cities, we built them to try and get water off the cities as fast as possible so they wouldn't flood. And they connect the urban areas to our creeks, rivers and oceans. So we build underground infrastructure that intercepts pollution at source. So when I say at source, that's in the car parks, on the roads, and it intercepts that pollution before it goes down into our creeks, rivers, and obviously our oceans.
Great. So you told us a little bit there about this solution, this infrastructure that you guys input. So tell us a little bit about why it's so important and why it will work.
Contaminants go down our drains every day, and contaminants that you don't see. Plastic is obviously one that everyone knows is going out into the ocean. But plastic is just one contaminant that we look at. So here in Australia, we look at a range of contaminants, sediments, nitrogen, phosphorus, and gross pollutants. So not only are we intercepting plastic, which is obviously choking our oceans, but we are intercepting a whole range of pollutions at source, and it's preventing it from even reaching the creeks, rivers, and oceans. So we're actually stopping it right up into the catchment area, and by stopping it there, it means we're not out in the ocean trying to mop up that problem. So economically, it's just it makes sense to treat it at source economically, because then it's not going down into our systems, clogging them up, and it's very hard to go out and mop up the problem. We're trying to actually stop it at source.
Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about where you and the business are at now, and where you need to be to achieve your grand vision, your big goals.
Where we are now, we're a 40-strong company, great team, an amazing team that I'm very proud to lead, and myself and my business partner, Wixie. Look, where we're at the moment is because of ocean plastic, it's really given our industry a bit of a chance to have a voice, Tim. And whether it's me or my competitors, there are lots of people in this space. We're trying to connect up the dots and trying to tell our story better. As you know, and you're involved in, and our rebrand and refocus as a company to start that discussion. We were called Stormwater 360. We're now called Ocean Protect, to better tell the story to the general public, so the general public have a better understanding. So therefore, they can put pressure on their local governments. For instance, like down here in Sydney, you may be aware we're going around trying to start a zero litter to river or zero litter to ocean campaign, which is a local government initiative to say, great, within a certain time frame, we need to stop pollution going out to our waterways. So that's where we're at right now. We're trying to get around and talk as much as we can and start the conversation and really trying to prove to local, state, and federal governments through data. We know the data. We're currently working with the CSIRO on trying to get that data in a form to the people that make these decisions. As I said before, it's the mop and bucket. We've got to stop this pollution from even entering into our waterways. I mean, we've got to reduce what we use, but we as humans, I'd like to say we're dirty. We are. I mean, we just waste stuff, and stuff falls on trucks, and we're a funny odd race, and we've got to reduce, but we've also got to adequately protect. So we have a chance, because of the conversation around ocean plastics, to really go back to government and say, guys, this is the most effective way to stop pollution even entering into our waterways. So we're very busy at the moment, obviously working remotely and getting out on our sort of Teams meetings, but that is our focus at the moment.
Brilliant. Wonderful solution. Much needed. Thank you so much for your time, Jeremy.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, so we've got Louise Hardman from Plastic Collective. So Louise, tell us about you and the challenge that you're here to solve with the Plastic Collective.
Yeah, hi Tim. So my background is I'm a zoologist, environmental science teacher, and I've basically, my problem that I'm trying to solve is stopping plastics going into the ocean. To do that, I want to empower small and remote communities that don't have any waste facilities. So empowering through education, knowledge, and tools and equipment.
Great. And so what is your solution, and why is it needed, and why will it work?
Yeah, our solution is providing mobile recycling units to remote communities that have no waste collection at all. empowering them to understand the chemistry behind plastics and how to transform plastics from waste into a resource that is economically viable for their communities. So this will eliminate pollution through creating value.
Great. And one of those products, that technology is the Schroeder. Tell us a little bit about your product, the Schroeder, and how that's going.
Yeah, so the Schroeder is a shredder-extruder combination. Our pilot programs, 3 pilot programs, started as these mobile 120 kilogram machines that can get wheeled around, put on the back of a trailer. We've delivered them in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Australia, and testing them. From that, we're growing it into the Big Brother version, which is We're growing that into the Big Brother version, which is called the Schroeder Recycling Station, that we put equipment, small mobile equipment, gets integrated into a container, plus we develop an entire plastic recycling footprint that we can deliver to a community, establish this recycling station, and give them all the tools, knowledge and resources required, particularly with training and education, give them the resources required to be able to transform that waste into resource, economically viable.
Great. And so tell us a little bit about where you're at now in 2020 and what you need to achieve your vision.
Yeah, so where we're at now is that we've recently got a large federal government grant to complete the R&D for these Schroeder recycling stations, the Big Brother version, and deliver 2 pilot programs to Indigenous communities, remote Indigenous communities. We're working with a number of organisations, partners on this, including universities, Southern Cross Uni, a multi-international engineering, South Pole, and also University of Queensland, to integrate a complete solution with hardware and software. Once we've got these units prototyped, we have 2 prototype and then 2 pilots going out. We're looking at more pilots in remote communities, including Vietnam, Fiji, Samoa. So we're looking for other places to sort of pilot these projects as well, so we can develop a very solid model that will work for these communities, that will fund them, will enable them to employ people, enable them to create valuable products for their community, but also sell, shred, and give them access to the international recycling, ocean-bound plastic recycling market as well.
Great. We've got 1 minute left, Louise. So any final words? What could the world look like with a plastic collective and yourself operating at maximum potential?
Yeah, well, I see with, by creating value and empowering people, you create this huge knock-on effect, so that they're looking after their communities, but they're really proud of what they're doing as well. And that's where we want to get to with these communities, that they have this immense pride in what they're doing, because their value to their community is absolutely off the scale.
I love it. Thanks so much for your time, Louise.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so we've got Ricky Gilby from War Hand Planes. Look, tell us a little bit about the challenge you're trying to solve, Ricky.
So yeah, Tim, our challenge is kind of really just to change people's mindset on what actually is waste and what can be reused, and also show that the solutions to the plastic crisis can actually be quite fun. So we set out to recycle and reuse some of the most degraded and contaminated waste possible, the beach and ocean collected plastics, and turn it into a lifestyle product that people can use to enjoy the ocean. So a body surfing hand plane. And one of the most important things that we honed in on was that people are overwhelmed by this plastics problem. It's big, it's ugly, but most brands and charities out there are kind of trying to deal with it in a way that often asks people to take a bit of a sacrifice, to take an extra step, remove something from their lives, use a slightly less convenient product. So with the hand plane, we saw a bit of an opportunity to differentiate and offer something unique and fun.
Great. So you've sort of gone into question 2 there around, what your solution is and why it will work. Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah. I think our solution is basically to show that it is easy to recycle plastics and come at a competitive price to virgin products, which is a big key indicator. With the bad fish, we've proved that even the most contaminated and degraded plastics can be used. So therefore proving that there's just no excuse as to why manufacturers aren't really incorporating the purer, cleaner, more readily available curbside collected plastics in this country.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about where you're at now and what you need to achieve your big vision, your big goals.
So yeah, to date, we've established a complete supply chain from collection through to manufacture of ocean plastics. And we've had 3 successful production runs so far. We've gained some international recognition from the likes of the National Geographic around their Define Plastics campaign last year. And in order for us to get to the next stage, we need companies and manufacturers to start incorporating waste material into their products. And in order for that to happen, we need consumers to demand it, simply. With an increased demand comes increased supply. So my message to you guys is simple. Just next time you're at the shops, whether it's the supermarket or retail shop, just buy plastic, buy recycled plastic.
Fantastic, Ricky. Brilliant product. Love your work, and thanks so much for your time today.
Greatly appreciate it, Tim. Thank you.
Okay, so we've now got Louise Diva from No Tox Surfboards. Louise, tell us a little bit about you and the challenge it is that you're trying to solve.
Hi, Tim. Yes, so me, about 5 years ago, as an adult learner surfer, I couldn't find any surfboards with green credentials. So I came into the surfing world very naive, and I thought I could find a green alternative to what I saw all the other experienced surfers riding. But on my search, I was really shocked to see what was happening behind closed doors in Australian surfboard manufacturing factories. Now, I knew I didn't want to make an unnecessary impact on the surfing world, so I began searching for a sustainable alternative.
Great. And so you found that. What is your solution, and why do you think this will work?
Yep. So the solution came to me via France. So what's happening in France is they were making surfboards using vacuum technology combined with recycled and natural materials. So what this does is it makes the boards much stronger, and it's the same techniques used in the aerospace industry. So it's light, strong, and really high quality. And also another problem that I did find was what the workers were being underpaid. It was unsafe. And so what our factory is also about, the No Tox factories, is the technicians or the workers are paid twice as much as well. So that's really important. And it works because we're using plant-based materials, recycled materials. The worker is in a safer environment. They're being paid more, which means they can afford to buy the correct safety equipment. And the boards last a lot longer because they're stronger. But because they're vacuum bagged, they're very light as well.
Fantastic. And so tell us sort of where you are now with the business and what you need to achieve your big visions and goals.
Right. Okay. This is the fun part. So right now we're in production phase. We've been in production for 10 years in France, but in Australia this is very new. And so what we're doing in Australia, we're offering our workers a safe place to work. We're reducing their exposures to chemicals. We're paying them the rate they deserve to be paid to achieve that high quality board. Right now, though, I'm on a mission to educate the surfing community in Australia particularly that they can make environmentally friendly choices and stand up for the Australian workers by choosing boards that offer safe practices in the workspace. Now, our main goal right now is to create awareness to do that, we need to get the public's eye on the truth of what is happening in that those factories in Australia.
Great. Well, it sounds like you've got an exciting and important journey ahead of you. Thank you so much for your time today, Louise.
Thank you, Tim.